These are the latest developments in the story involving Clive Davis, one of the most powerful figures in the history of American music. For decades, his name sat beside some of the biggest careers the industry has ever produced, and his public image stayed untouched. None of that has stopped a wave of allegations, unanswered questions, and public controversies from pulling his legacy into a very different kind of conversation. People want to know what exactly is being alleged, why these stories refuse to stay buried, and whether any of it could permanently reshape how the world sees a man who spent decades being only celebrated. Most people who know the name Clive Davis picture someone quiet, operating from behind the curtain, while the artists he backed became household names. Across multiple generations, Davis helped careers reach the highest levels of the industry and stay there. In the documentary, Clive Davis, the soundtrack of our lives, he revealed something few people expected, that this New York native had originally set his sights on becoming an attorney. A very different path found him instead, one that placed him at the center of American music history, where his public image stayed not just intact, but revered. And that is what makes everything happening right now so difficult to ignore. The controversy at the center of all of this traces back to a claim first made by a radio host named Larry Gators, who alleged that a secret meeting took place at Clive Davis's Beverly Hills mansion in 1995. Rappers from across the country reportedly attended that gathering alongside individuals connected to the CIA, the FBI, and executives from private prison companies, all in the same room. What those artists were supposedly told was not subtle. According to Gators, the push was to create music centered on conflict with police, use degrading language toward Black women, and lean into content that was more aggressive, more violent, and more controversial overall, because private prison companies stood to gain financially from a growing prison population and saw the music industry as one way to get there. Davis's team shut the story down quickly. A spokesperson called the claim completely false, stated that no such meeting ever took place, and pointed to Davis's documented history of supporting artists through addiction and personal difficulty. The denial was direct, and it was meant to close the door. That's when the 2012 letter came along and reopened it. An anonymous letter appeared online that year, describing a scenario that sounded nearly identical to what Gators had alleged. The writer claimed to have witnessed powerful business leaders pushing record executives to take gangsta rap further, promote a specific lifestyle, and steer young listeners in directions that could benefit the private prison industry. That letter spread across the internet for years without a confirmed source, without verification, and without disappearing. And layered on top of that, separate reports surfaced claiming Davis and Whitney Houston had argued just 2 days before her death, with her daughter Bobby Christina possibly present during part of that exchange. Money is where the story takes its next sharp turn. After Diddy left Uptown Records in the early 1990s, Clive Davis reportedly handed him $15 million to build Bad Boy Records from the ground up, a figure that translates to close to $40 million in today's money. Davis framed it later as a bet on hip-hop becoming a global force, and Diddy's account was that he walked in and made a convincing case. What neither of them addressed was the obvious question a lot of people were already asking. That question was why anyone would write a check that size for someone who had never run a label, hadn't produced a run of major hit records, and had a reputation for being difficult to work with. Investments that large don't usually happen without a clear roadmap, existing results, or information that gives the investor real confidence going in. And the timing of this particular investment made that question harder to ignore. Here's the thing about that timing. Back in 1991, Diddy had promoted a charity basketball event at the City College of New York, And when security turned out to be nowhere near adequate for the crowd that showed up, a stampede broke out and 9 people were injured. An event like that has ended careers in far less competitive industries than music. And yet, just 2 years later, Diddy walked away from that episode with $15 million and the infrastructure to build one of the most powerful labels in history. Biggie Smalls and Craig Mack came out of that label and became stars almost immediately. And Bad Boy Records reshaped what mainstream music sounded like in a remarkably short window of time. Critics who look even further back bring up Priority Records, a label whose founders came out of K-Tel International, a company known for television music compilations and novelty projects. The question those critics keep asking is how a company with roots in novelty records ended up behind NWA, one of the most controversial groups hip-hop ever produced. Members of that group acknowledged later that the image they sold to the public didn't always match who they actually were. Ice Cube put it plainly, saying he sometimes felt used by the industry. Dr. Dre was not known as a gangster before the music made him one, and DJ Yella was even further from that image. Yet, the image moved millions of records and filled arenas across the world. On June 4th, 2025, Clive Davis stood at the Apollo Theater to accept a legacy award at a major benefit event, with Method Man performing and Busta Rhymes offering public praise in a room packed with well-known artists and celebrities. That same week, Sean Combs sat in a cell at MDC Brooklyn, a federal facility that has faced repeated criticism for its conditions. Judge Arun Subramanian had sentenced Combs to 50 months, and despite Combs reportedly requesting credit for time already served in hopes of a shorter outcome, the judge held at 50 months, pushing his earliest possible release to somewhere around late 2028. Nobody who followed both stories closely missed what was happening in parallel. The man who helped build Bad Boy Records was standing on a stage collecting a legacy honor, and the man who ran that same label was sitting in federal custody with years ahead of him before he sees the outside. The federal system that put Combs there has not taken any visible public action against Davis. What makes that even more worth watching is what Combs' attorney, Mark, had put on the record, which is that his client is not just open to testifying, but eager to do it, and may be difficult to keep off the witness stand. Combs operated Bad Boy Records at its highest level for years, sat close to major decisions, had relationships with powerful people across the industry, and moved through business dealings at a scale very few could access. Whatever he might choose to say in open court and to whom remains one of the more closely watched questions in this entire story. Suge Knight carries significant baggage into any conversation about the music industry. Currently serving 28 years for voluntary manslaughter, Knight also brings a documented history of bitter conflict with Combs stretching back to the 90s, along with every personal reason imaginable to damage people still connected to the business. None of that has stopped his claims from spreading, and none of it fully accounts for the specifics of what he keeps saying. Knight has alleged that hidden recordings and tapes exist involving powerful figures in the industry, and that the reach of those recordings goes well above Combs in the chain. He also described something he called the egg test, an alleged practice in which young artists were reportedly put through humiliating and degrading physical situations as an unspoken condition of entry into the industry. And his framing was that this was not some buried secret, but an open one. Something widely understood by people who moved through those circles at the time. Clive Davis came up directly in Knight's account, not as someone who organized the alleged events, but as someone who Knight claims knew about them and took no action to stop them. Davis's spokesperson rejected all of it, pointing to Knight's criminal record and personal resentments as the obvious explanation. But Knight went further. He alleged that when accusations surfaced against certain industry figures, some of those individuals were quietly folded into company payrolls through arrangements that appeared legitimate on the surface, but were designed to buy silence. And Universal and Interscope were both named specifically in those allegations. What keeps getting pointed out is not the allegations themselves, but the response, or more accurately, the absence of one. Universal and Interscope have not come out with fast, forceful public denials. And critics argue that if the claims had no real basis, the pushback would look a lot more aggressive, whether through legal channels or a clear and detailed public statement. The pattern instead has been quiet, and that quiet is part of what keeps the conversation alive. Then, there's the institutional layer. New York University runs a program called the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music, a well-regarded institution that trains students for careers in music. In the fall of 2024, that institute named Joey Beatty Tolbert as an artist in residence, with the stated rationale that the appointment would give students insight into the modern financial systems of the music industry. That framing sits uncomfortably next to the ongoing debates about how money, influence, and power move through the industry for decades, often in ways that stayed far out of public view. Here is where things actually stand. No federal charges have been filed against Clive Davis. No public evidence has confirmed the allegations circulating for years. And the 1995 meeting Larry Gators described remains exactly what it started as: an unverified claim from a radio host. The anonymous letter that appeared online in 2012 was never tied to a confirmed source, and Suge Knight remains a convicted felon in a prison cell with documented personal grievances and obvious motivations. None of that means the questions have stopped. A $15 million investment with timing that nobody has fully explained still sits in the public record, and an industry that received direct accusations has answered mostly with silence where a louder, faster response might have been expected. A legacy honor was accepted the same week a one-time business associate sat in federal custody counting years. Institutions tied to a name that keeps surfacing in uncomfortable places have said very little. And the man in MDC Brooklyn has an attorney on the record saying he wants to take the witness stand and may be hard to keep off it. Nothing here has been confirmed, and large portions of the story remain unproven. But the conversation around it has not softened or slowed down. Every silence from a major institution, every new development, and every statement from someone still inside a prison cell adds more weight to questions that were already difficult to put down. The longer those questions go without clear answers, the harder they become to walk away from.